We usually remember heroes. We sometimes remember villains. But every now and then, when something extraordinary happens, we remember the car. Though it has no dialogue and no emotion, well, for the most part, we feel for it. We long for its victory, and we mourn its loss. Somewhere along the line, it stopped being a prop and started feeling more like a character. Hello, Kinuists and Kinuzettes. Today I'm going to ask you what makes a memorable movie car. Now I know the title says movie, but it pretty much goes for cars in all types of media. Now if I ask you which movie is this car from, you'd say, of course, John Wick, a car that was motivation for murder in this story. And my dear viewer, if I ask you which movie is this car from, you would simply be offended by my questioning, wouldn't you? Okay, one more. If I ask you which movie this car is from, any idea? You in the back. I saw you right about to click something else. No? Okay. Well, this is not a coincidence. There are blockbuster movies with unrecognizable vehicles. It is the car that distinguishes itself from the movie. You wouldn't watch 100 minutes of someone executing a village because they stole his Suburban, would you? Now we must understand why. And the reasons kinda get increasingly more niche. And for that we must answer a couple of questions. Why do we remember movie cars? To understand how this happens, we must first understand that our brain remembers stories, not machines. A car becomes memorable the moment it stops feeling like transportation, the moment its existence changes the story. When something happens because of that car, suddenly it has consequence, it has agency, it has a place in the narrative. And without realizing it, we stop treating it like a prop. This is especially prominent when the car accompanies the main characters throughout the story. Because now it has experience. It has lived through hardship and it has endured it. And experiences, they shape who we are. So whatever shaped the main character has also shaped our perception of the car. And now they are indistinguishable from each other. So now we can signify a character with their car because they are one of the same. And that's how we remember those cars. How are movie cars made? An important rule here is that memorable hero cars aren't accidental. They are manufactured. Directors don't just choose cars, they cast them the same way actors are. A car has to fit a certain DNA to fit the role. This is the first stage of getting the audience to accept the car as a character. There is a reason all bad boys in TV and cinema have muscle cars, because they fit the DNA of the character they represent. There is a reason Walter White, an overqualified, underachieving, failed scientist whose reality failed to match his potential, drives a Pontiac Aztek, a creatively designed, complicated car that unfortunately fell pathetically short of its intended success because its production reality couldn't match its visionary concept. The Aztek tells us everything we need to know about Walter. The car is a mirror of the character it represents. And this is a perfect example of great car casting. Because if alternatively we chose a Corolla, for example, though could also have been a cheap shitbox, wouldn't represent Walter as well. Because a shitbox Corolla fulfills all of the potential it was made for, unlike Walter. Another important rule is camera shots. Directors want us to remember the car, so they treat it the same way they would treat an actor. They give it an entrance, a close-up, a voice, time to breathe. Scenes where it is a highlight give us time to register what it looks like, what it sounds like. It feeds the car to our senses and familiarizes us with it. We can recognize it by its voice and rumble, and by its distinctive features. Like here, for example. I don't need to tell you which car this is, do I?
A picture of this!
Exactly my point. Now, how do some cars reach legendary status? This is the point where we zoom out of the specific piece of entertainment and indulge in the culture itself, where the car escapes the movie and becomes a real-world phenomenon. Memes, products, and even markets, they can all be shaken by one appearance of a vehicle in a movie. Can you imagine a world where a Supra sells for $1 million without seeing it beforehand in The Fast and the Furious? Can you imagine a world where so many people know about the DeLorean as a standalone car without Back to the Future? Or perhaps a world where Eleanor is simply a random girl's name instead of a flashback to the beautiful story of a Shelby GT500? Of course we can't, because now the movie's identity is tied to the car's identity. We can't change the car without changing the movie. And naturally, audiences interact with these cars the same way they interact with their favorite characters. Fan bases and fandoms culturally carry the car to legendary status. That's when we start to see posters, merch, and even real-life replicas of hero cars. The movie simply plants the seed, and the audience takes care of the rest. And if all of that wasn't enough, there's one final ingredient, a cliche we're all guilty of: nostalgia. Most of these cars found us when we were kids. We didn't just watch them, we grew up with them. And just like the heroes they carried, we never really let them go. So what makes a memorable movie car? It's not something quantifiable like price or horsepower. It's casting. Great cars aren't simply chosen, they are cast. Sometimes they're cast so perfectly, we spend the next 50 years remembering them. See you in the next kino. Take care.